Call to order the August 4th, 2026 meeting of the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, and I will note that we have a quorum of 4 commissioners here in person. Next item on the agenda, the disposition of minutes from the July 21st, 2026 hearing.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we've received a copy of the minutes of the Indiana Alcohol Tobacco Commission for July 21st, 2026. They are consistent with my notes. I move acceptance of the minutes as proposed.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, prosecutor's recommendations.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the prosecutor has recommended a report that is alcohol and tobacco fines of 55 separate violations for a total of $39,700. There are two worthy of note. The first is Nirvana Closet in Noblesville, where a compliance check was conducted by excise officers and an 18-year-old individual who purchased tobacco products without being having these verified. This is the third violation for sale of a minor. Parties agreed to a $1,000 civil penalty and a 3-day suspension of the tobacco certificate. The second is Food Mart in North Vernon, Indiana. In June, there was a compliance check after several complaints were received of sale of tobacco and vape products to minors. Again, a minor purchased vape products. In this was a third violation. Parties have agreed to a $1,500 civil penalty, 3-day suspension of the tobacco certificate. I move acceptance of the prosecutor's report.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, hearing judge recommendations. The first one is for RR 4939560, Georgia Street Rhythm and Blues Lounge Incorporated.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, there was a case involving two violations, one in December, one in January of 2026 for Georgia Street Rhythm and Blues Lounge here in Indianapolis. The first indicated there was a testimony on December 7th. A excise officer or a police officer was assigned to downtown duty and saw a security guard in a black shirt with the word security repeatedly punch an individual in the face, including when he was on the ground. On further investigation and trying to resolve the situation, the security guard entered the premises of Georgia Street Rhythm Blues and disappeared. There was testimony indicating that there were issues that came up with that individual patron, but the fact is that the security guard was hitting him about the face and body, which was inappropriate. Interestingly, it was in the investigation, the officer discovered that the video equipment was not working on that date, nor was the ID scanning equipment. Later on in January, there was another incident involving the same location. It was determined at that point that some individuals entered onto the business and that one of those individuals was an underage 21-year-old. During their time there, one of those individuals, a female, was struck in the face and ended up going into the hospital. Again, there was testimony indicating that the video equipment and the ID scanner were not working. At the conclusion of the testimony and evidence, the violations were found true, and particularly under EX 25-00445 and RR 4939560. I'm recommending a fine of $1,000 as a result of the violation. That is the recommendation for RR 4939560, Georgia Street Rhythm Blues Lounge, Inc.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The next hearing judge recommendation is for permit RR 02233790, Robert Hawkins. I heard this as hearing judge. Robert Hawkins holds a beer and wine retail permit under RR 02233790, which is located at 2619 Weiser Park Avenue, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I heard two different cause numbers under EX 25001-076 and EX 25001-289. I will first note the history on this permit. There were prior violations for public nuisance due to increased police activity at the location. That was admitted and the permit holder was placed on case. The second was for scope of permit, specifically having liquor on a beer and wine permit and purchasing beer retail to retail. At the time of the incident involved in this matter, they were on pace. There was a public nuisance citation. I found that shots were fired immediately outside the premises, which entered neighbors' vehicles and homes. And some shots were fired by security of the location in that exchange of gunfire. The second violation I heard was for operating on an expired permit. Permit holder admitted there were paperwork issues and that they did not have a permit on the day excise visited when they were serving. I found permit holder in violation on both violations, and my recommendation is for revocation of the permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item is the consideration of applications. There are 464 renewal applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 464 applications for renewal, which have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by our staff with authority of the commission, and I hereby move for approval of same pending any needed escrow hearings and inclusion of this list in the minutes of this meeting on August 4th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and unseconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 34 new and transfer applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 34 permit applications for a new permit or applications for changes in ownership or location or both of existing permits, which have been recommended by local boards and reviewed by commissioner, and I hereby move approval of the same pending a floor plan approval by the Indiana State Excise Police and an escrow hearing if needed, and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of this meeting on August 4th, 2026.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 53 catering applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 53 permit applications for catering, and I hereby move for approval of same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of this meeting of August 4th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 10 direct wine shipper applications.
I incorporate by reference this list of 10 new and renewal direct wine shipper permits, and I hereby move approval of same and inclusion of this list as part of the minutes of this meeting, August 4th, 2026.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, waivers of fees for letters of extension.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, we've received documents for waivers of fees for letters of extension. I move acceptance of those.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Items for discussion. The first item for discussion is WH 30104 and WH 49-30105 D&E Spirits LLC. This comes on for consideration of a renewal following investigation by Indiana State Excise Police and investigatory hearing. I've written my thoughts, given the complexity of the situation. So D&E Spirits is an applicant for renewal of a liquor and wine wholesaler permit. The commission shall apply the intent of the General Assembly when considering the character of an applicant's business. That's pursuant to IC 7.13-1-1.5C. The character of business test states that whenever the character of a business in which an applicant is engaged is material to his being issued a permit under this article or within Title 7.1 -3, or is material to his being qualified to continue to hold the permit, it must be made to appear to the satisfaction of the commission that a substantial portion of the business carried on or to be carried on in the premises in respect to which the permit is applied for is in the nature of the applicant's main business function in the premises. And that's from Indiana Code 7.1-3-1-19. The liquor wholesale permit may be issued to someone who desires to sell liquor at wholesale, and a wine wholesale permit may be issued to someone who desires to sell wine at wholesale. That is IC 7.1-3-8-1 and IC 7.1-3-13-1. Wholesaler is not defined specifically in Title 7.1. The Black's Law Dictionary definition of wholesaler is someone who buys large quantities of goods and resells them in smaller quantities to retailers or other merchants who in turn sell to the ultimate consumer. Under the investigation and testimony to this point, D&E Spirits keeps no inventory, doesn't pull or sort any product during the brief time inventory is at the premises, unloads pre-sorted inventory from the truck and immediately reloads the truck and refuses all customers but one packaged liquor store chain. D&E Spirits does not maintain inventory at the permit premises. It is only when Indiana Fine Wine and Spirits LLC, doing business as Total Wine, Spirits, Beer and More, a packaged liquor store and the sole customer of D&E Spirits, sends an order to Dale Stewart, the owner and usually single employee of D&E Spirits, that Mr. Stewart then sends the order divided by dealer store location to the primary source. The primary source or someone sorting on their behalf then pulls the inventory and sorts it by store so it is packaged for delivery to its final destination before it arrives at the wholesaler. The primary source places the pre-sorted pallets into a carrier semi-truck, originally not a permitted carrier, but after investigation by Indiana State Excise Police, it is now a permitted carrier for shipment to D&E Spirits. The truck backs up to a loading dock at D&E Spirits. Dale Stewart then removes the pre-sorted pallets from the truck, places them into the permit premises only for the amount of time it takes him to get the products back on the truck. He invoices the single customer and loads the pallets back on the truck. The carrier then takes the pallets packaged by the primary source to Total Wine. Total Wine then displays the products from D&E Spirits as Wine Direct or Spirits Direct products. In-store explanation of these products tell customers that Total Wine is selling product direct from the winery, including a statement that we purchase these extraordinary wines directly from the producer. There is a similar explanation for Spirits Direct brands. Although other dealers have contacted D&E Spirits or Dale Stewart about purchasing products, he will not sell or deliver to others. One of these Spirits Direct brands was Copper Mountain. Copper Mountain was a brand registered as a primary source owned by Chance Roads and manufactured by Best Vineyards LLC, a permitted Indiana distiller. Dale Stewart was given a Copper Mountain email address. D&E Spirits provided warehousing to Copper Mountain. Dale Stewart picked up product from MGPI and delivered it to Best Vineyards on behalf of Copper Mountain. Dale Stewart shipped product from the permitted warehouse to Deutsche Family Wine and Spirits Blue Division, stating the origin of the product was Copper Mountain. Dale Stewart engaged with Crossroads Beverage on the ordering and pickup of Copper Mountain using his Copper Mountain email. For this brand, there was little to no distinction between the primary source and the wholesaler. During the investigation, it was determined that there was no home state permit for the primary source. The primary source registration is now expired and not renewed. A hold remains on the primary source registration to get clarification related to the home state permit should a new application be submitted. The address provided appears to be a residence, and Washington state officials confirmed there are no alcoholic beverage permits issued to that location. Based on the totality of facts, it does not appear to me that DM Spirits meets the character of business test for a liquor and wine wholesaler. I move that we issue a notice of intent to deny renewal pursuant to IC 7.1-3-23-32.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I would just like to state that I've reviewed my notes from the hearing and evidence presented in the testimony, which includes the questions by the commissioners and answers given by the witnesses. And having reviewed everything in preparation for today's meeting, I am not satisfied that the permittee DNA Spirits LLC has met the qualifications of a wholesaler, and they have not met the spirit and intent of that definition and the licensing standards. So I support the motion.
I would like to add, I know I just started a few months ago, but I've watched all the hearings. I've read all the documents that have been given to the commission. And despite not having been here during the hearings, I felt comfortable voting on this.
Good.
Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The next part of this for consideration is the extension. So as to the extension, the current extension expires August 22nd of 2026. A date for the public hearing in accordance with IC 7.1-3-23-33 will be given in the written notice following this decision. I move that we grant a 90-day extension of the permit while we schedule and hold that hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. While we were reviewing this, I think a lot of other related issues were raised and became apparent. So I am going to address some of those here. As to the other businesses and interests involved in this matter, for Copper Mountain Beverage, I am going to ask Indiana State Excise Police to investigate whether Copper Mountain brand or other products associated with Copper Mountain, including the other brands listed on their website, are still entering the Indiana marketplace. And if so, what primary source is responsible for the products, who is wholesaling the product, and what are the practices involved, and what, if any, relationship with Dale Stewart remains. As to Best Vineyards, I would like legal to send a letter reminding the permit holder that Indiana law does not permit contract manufacturing, as it may occur in other states, and that anything manufactured by a distillery, even if the product is manufactured under a formula provided by a third party, is product owned by and in the control of the permitted distillery. As to Total Wine, I would like legal to send a letter reminding the permit holder that Indiana law requires all alcoholic beverages to be sold through the 3-tier system, which requires an Indiana wholesaler. a retailer or dealer cannot purchase directly from a manufacturer, with certain exceptions, only for craft manufactured products. As to the primary sources, I would like legal to send a letter notifying the primary sources associated with D&E Spirits of today's decision, with the note that today's decision is subject to the public hearing, requesting that they preserve all contracts, orders, invoices, etc. with D&E Spirits, Copper Mountain, and Indiana Beverage Wholesaler LLC, and making them aware that one factor in the overall determination today was that products were picked and sorted per Indiana location before arrival at the Indiana wholesaler, and that all product must move through the 3-tier system in Indiana, including through an Indiana wholesaler. Finally, through reviewing online records for many manufacturers or brands, there appear to be many that offer online to ship direct to consumer in Indiana. I'm directing excise to investigate these online retailers and proceed accordingly if they determine that manufacturers, primary sources, or out-of-state retailers are in fact shipping direct to consumers in Indiana. There's no motion here. I'm just putting it out there what else I would like done on this matter to ensure that everyone is complying with Indiana law. Next item on the agenda is RR 1019620 Kansai Japanese Steakhouse LLC. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this permittee has been on our agenda for a couple of times. We have issued 2 full extensions and a partial extension. It did, the first extension was in March of this year, and the current extension expired on August 4th. The problem with this permittee is they changed their name with the Secretary of State's office, and the current company, Kansai Japanese Steakhouse LLC, no longer exists with the Secretary of State. We have had our legal office send them 2 letters, that was in June and July, notifying them to get a certificate of existence for Kansai or change their name with us. There was a transfer that was in the works in June, and that fell through. There was a lot of paperwork that did not accompany the request for the transfer, so it was returned to them. So I'm not sure what they're currently thinking, maybe a transfer, or maybe they're going to correct the name, but they have not done so, and we have given them opportunity since March to correct the record and to correct their legal name, and legal has contacted them twice. So I'm going to move that we do not grant any further extensions to RR 1019620 Kansai Japanese Steakhouse LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will note here, I think this just arose yesterday afternoon. Attorney Mark Webb is representing the purchaser. And so there is an attorney now involved. We don't have a written update from Kansai, but we do have an attorney involved working on getting it through the arm's length transfer.
Do we want to make a different decision while the attorney works? It doesn't sound like that he is working with the current permittee. He's working with the buyer. I don't know that he has any sway over helping them with their certificate of existence with the Secretary of State's office. But if we look at the transfer and they look at the transfer, maybe we want to continue for 30 days. And
If we're inclined not to grant an extension today. I would just note that we may receive a request with additional information on reconsideration of that decision
May I ask how you got this information? I wasn't aware of this.
from legal yesterday.
But so they haven't filed anything with us. This is just conversations.
It was just, I believe the attorney just became involved in the situation. And has not been receiving the notice letters from legal because he doesn't represent
Right.
Kansai.
Right.
So is now coming into it, asking what's happening, what has happened to this point.
I'm gonna amend my motion. I'm gonna move that we continue it for an additional 2 weeks. And I really feel like for me, this is gonna be the final 2 weeks. And if there is transfer that's gonna happen, hopefully that transfer can be put on file and we'll at least know what direction it's moving in within the next 2 weeks. So and maybe that takes care of the Secretary of State's paperwork issue problem. I don't know, but let's see what can be worked out on the transfer in the next 2 weeks. So 2-week extension for RR 1019620 Kansai Japanese Steakhouse LLC.
Second.
Go ahead.
I was just going to second that. I think that sounds fair.
Then I have a question. Do we know, are they open for business?
I think so, which is why they're asking for the extension.
Well, I assume that, but they seem to be so unprepared and unwilling to follow directions at this point. I will support the motion only because they're still open and to give the proposed buyer time to engage in this. But I'm opposed to Kansai having an extension just because they seem unqualified to handle the paperwork and do typical things. In fact, I indicated to myself earlier, I want to go to the Secretary of State's office and convince myself that this is an easy process to get reinstated. I think,
Well, you'll remember on this one, they voluntarily surrendered. So I think they put the cart before the horse in the transfer process. But I agree, it's concerning issuing an extension to an entity that doesn't legally exist.
And just for the record, they did expire March the 5th. They had their first extension March the 11th through June 9th. That was a full 90 days. They had their second full extension from June the 16th. I'm sorry, it was a partial. I'm sorry. The second is from June 16th to July 16th, and then from July 21st to today, August the 4th. So they have not had the full second 90-day extension. But there's been periods of time that they have not had an active permit. I don't know if they were selling during those times, but I've made my motion for 2 weeks.
I have one further comment. My question would be, if they don't exist, do they have insurance? Can they have insurance? I mean, can you insure a non-existent entity?
I guess, I think that's been our question all along when these situations come up, with dissolved corporations.
They're putting themselves at risk.
Right.
All right, so right now the motion is for a 2-week extension, final extension, unless we see movement, on the corporate entity, or a transfer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
I think I'm opposed unless it is set for hearing in 2 weeks to just give an.
So for today, are you in favor or opposed?
I don't know. Not bothered.
It passes without you,
Yes,
so,
I know. I'm gonna oppose it.
okay. I will show that the motion passes 3-1 for a 2-week extension. Next item on the agenda is RR 1802644 Big Shots Pub Incorporated. This comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this is on for a second extension. They do have, and a violation that's pending. They have submitted a corrective action plan. They did file their appeal timely. This permit was denied by the Delaware County Local Board. That's up in Muncie. We did uphold the denial. Their violation dealt with persons loitering in the parking lot, other issues. They've had no further violations since that one. On the corrective action plan, they are closing earlier. They're closing at 2 a.m., which seems to be helpful for a lot of other permittees. I think it will be for them too. They're working with the Muncie Police Department has been there quite a bit, and I know they're on top of, as well as excise, on top of reviewing this permittee. They did have an extension from May the 4th to August the 18th. And because this is moving along in its appeal, I'm going to move that we grant a 90-day extension for R18-02644 Big Shots Inc.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 4905428 Urban Amenities Incorporated. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this permit did expire almost a year ago in September 25th of 2025. It has had several extensions, a full extension from September 26th to December 24th of 2025, an extension from January 6th of 26 to March 26th of 2026. And they have had another extension from March the 27th to June the 24th, and then a partial extension from June the 25th to July the 24th. They have had an issue with their certificate of existence and also need to file another renewal. We have sent notice to them that they need to take care of these issues. I would like to grant them a conditional amount of time on the current 4th extension, but ask them first to give us some additional information. I'd like to know what steps they're taking to take care of the certificate of existence and to take care of their renewal with that. And once we receive satisfactory information, according to our chief legal counsel, if that comes in before the next commission meeting, then they could get the extension for the remaining time on the 4th extension. And that's my motion for RR 4905428 Urban Amenities Inc.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is there further discussion? I rushed that one.
I'm opposed.
Okay, so opposed, say no.
No.
I will show that the motion passes 3-1. Next item is RR 4904646 Buckeye Beverage Corporation. This matter comes on for an extension request.
Yes, this had pending violations, and I was apprised this morning that those have been resolved. We have received a corrective action plan that looked good, and now it will be working its way through its renewal. And while it does that, I move that we grant the 90-day extension for RR 4904646 Buckeye Beverage Corp.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. The next permit, I am sitting as the hearing judge, so I will turn it over to the vice chairman who's staying today.
And we have a report from Recommendation, council. Commissioner?
Yes, the social has been before us several times. It has 4 pending violations. Public nuisance, these are all, charges, not findings yet. Public nuisance, falsification of records. I will note that in one of the violations, there was an officer who was struck by a vehicle, intoxicated individuals. Someone who was stopped for an operating while intoxicated and said that they had been at this location. Several serious violations. I will also note that they had previously been on ACE, working with our excise officers to turn their business around. They have timely appealed their denial. We thought that there was a transfer in the works, but haven't received any further information on that transfer. I think a transfer sounds like a really good idea for these operators. They don't seem to have the permit location under control. I'm gonna move that we, since it's moving along in the appeal and hopefully moving along with a transfer, I'm gonna move that we grant a 30-day extension. And let's see what they can do to resolve, set for hearing, or resolve these violations on this permit. And maybe it's a transfer that comes in that will move this permit in a different direction. And that is for RR 71-36368, the Central LLC.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Back to you.
There are 4 extensions to add to the agenda today. Those are for PL 4932087 Royal Petroleum Incorporated, RR 5230714 Allen Hunter Enterprises, RR 7942169 Los Patrios Mexican Restaurant and Grill and Bar Incorporated, and DL 6600768 Diamond Wills Incorporated. Can we take it by consent to add those to the agenda?
Consent.
We'll show those added to the agenda by consent, and I will call DL 4932087 Royal Petroleum Incorporated for discussion.
Yes, we need updated information, ownership information on this business. They also have a pending violation from June. That violation has to do with the disclosure of interested parties and possible falsification of records. I move that we grant a 30-day extension while they and ask that they get the ownership information and hopefully some movement on resolving this pending violation, either settle it or set it for a hearing. And I will also note that they have a property tax that needs to be, that paperwork needs to be given to us. And I move that 30-day extension for DL 4932087 Royal Petroleum Inc.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item is RR 5230714 Allen Hunter Enterprises.
Yes, this also had a ownership issue. The information has been corrected. They do have a violation that they need to resolve. It has been set for a hearing on August the 18th. Hopefully they can, get that taken care of and attend the local hearing. I'm gonna move for a 30-day extension for RR 5230714 Allen Hunter Enterprises.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item for discussion is RR 7942169 Los Patrios Mexican Restaurant and Grill and Bar Incorporated.
Yes, this has had, some paperwork outstanding. It did expire on March the 25th of 26. They had an extension until June the the end of June of 26. They are now scheduled for the local board on September the 9th. I will note that this permittee has had some violations. One rather, violent act. There was some resisting of police, front door that had to be broken in. Individual who I was out in front of the business, but was bleeding profusely and then later got into the hospital and he did not make it. I don't like hearing about these violent acts at bars. Paperwork issues one thing, but violent acts are another. I would like to request that they submit a corrective action plan within the next 2 weeks. And then after we get that corrective action plan, hopefully it looks good. Then possibly might extend it further so they can get through local board and hear what local board has to say on recommending a renewal. So 2-week extension for my motion is 2-week extension for RR 7942169 Los Patrios Mexican Restaurant Grill and Bar Inc. And corrective action plan needed within the next 2 weeks and legal to contact them to ask for that corrective action plan.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, extension for discussion is DL 6600768 Diamond Lils Incorporated. This one came in kind of immediately before the hearing today. I will note that they do have a pending violation. They called in for the settlement conference. It was not resolved and is now set for a virtual pre-hearing this Thursday. On that, with the extension that came in today, they submitted a corrective action plan, but it is dated 2024. The processor requested an updated corrective action plan already. So I will, with that explanation, I will open this for discussion.
Yes, they are scheduled for the local board on August the 25th of this month. They did expire May the 13th. They have had one extension, which was May the 14th until August the 11th. As our chair stated, they do have a pending violation, which there's charges on serving the minor for that. And they asked for they've had a pre-hearing set, or the virtual hearing was already held on that. And now they're moving along. So I'm gonna move that we grant a 30-day extension. The camp has already been requested for in the next few 2 weeks, or did they already submit it? I'm sorry, the cap.
2024, yes.
That's right. But they just need to correct the date.
It's on the one for 26. His email had both on there. It had the
Oh, they just submitted in 2026.
It's the same one, but the
same
different
one
name.
with
Okay, so we have that
Well, I
update.
mean, I guess they can still be doing the same.
We haven't had a chance to look at that. So let's grant a 30-day extension. It sounds like we have a new cap. Let's look at that and see if we can make any changes. While they work to resolve the violation, hopefully they can do that in the next 30 days. For RR 6600768, Diamond Lils Inc.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Inactive files. There are 4 permits to be made inactive from the 7/21/2026 meeting. You previously removed RR 8904798.
Madam Chair, I incorporate by reference in this list of permit applications be made dead and hereby move that approval of the same and the inclusion of these parts of the minutes of August 4th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 15 permits we're announcing today that will be made inactive on 8/18/2026 if they are not renewed. Next item on the agenda, permits for reconsideration. These have been sent a letter and announced for some time now. I will note on the list, we have renewals. We have complete renewals that we've received and are either renewed or set for local board for RR 8234560, RR 7130975, RR 4939918, RR 4907877, RR 4537321, RR 2240555, RR 0235811, DL 7133633, and DL 4931524, and DL 0533542. So I would move that we remove those from the list. Can we take that by consent?
Consent.
All right, then as to the remaining permits, there has been no activity on RR 9232366, RR 6416930, RR 4935078, RR 4631995, RR 4540041, RR 4540087, RR 4505016, RR 2635464, RR 1541782, and RR 0240159. So I would move that we make those dead.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. As to RR 6737308, we have received renewals, but are still waiting on the certificate of existence. As to RR 4940889, we have received renewals, but are still missing the Form 1. And as to RR 4940889, we have received renewals, but are still missing the Form 1. And DL 7532850. The renewal came in yesterday, so it has not been reviewed for whether it is complete or not. As to those four, the one may be complete and just needs review. The other three, they are only partially in compliance with the order. They all still have missing piece that was required by today. Since they have taken some action on the permits, I would move that we continue these to the 8/18 meeting, for full compliance with the commission's order, and consider them at that time.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And then as to DL 8533906 and RR 4539290, I'm not able to determine the exact current status, so I would like to also continue those to the 8/18 meeting, for further review.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And I will make this updated list part of the record if you weren't keeping up with all those numbers.
It's trying. I failed.
Announcements. There's a November 4th, meeting that's moved due to, election day. And then this isn't on the agenda, but I'll announce it and we'll put it on next month's agenda. After the commission meeting on September 1st, we would like to have a roundtable similar to what we've done in the past. Just discussion with the industry, what's working, what can be improved, announcements, anything like that. We just haven't gotten together in a while. So that will be after the commission meeting, in this room or virtual, although sometimes the discussion is harder if you're virtual, on September 1st. All right, unless somebody stops me, not seeing any other items on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. We are adjourned. Here are the findings for signature.